PBD, better known as Patrick Bet-David versus 20 socialist or anti-capitalist on Jubilee. I've got a lot of thoughts about it. My first thought is in the way that Jubilee markets these videos, and this isn't specific to PBD, it's more so almost every video with a few exceptions. Maybe an Alex O'Connor or Ben Shapiro, I would actually consider experts at what they're talking about. And those are two completely different people, so I'm not really being partisan with that thought. But most of these people, especially PBD, or even the audience, and the way they market it, they make it sound like the person in the middle, the one, is a super expert, and everyone else are kind of lower level experts. Maybe just they graduated from college in that field, but they should know what they're talking about. Look, and this is no hate towards PPD or anyone that was questioning him. They're not experts. They might have read a book. They might have watched a YouTube video. They're not experts. Both of them could not answer just common rebuttals. Look, you could be debating someone and be an expert, and somebody just throws a completely off-the-wall question to you, and you've just never heard it before. You're not familiar with it. You're not sure what a good rebuttal is, and maybe you think you possibly could be wrong, so you have to take the time to consider it. PBD repeated the same three capitalistic talking points, and the anti-capitalist repeated the same three anti-capitalist or socialist talking points, and neither of them could answer. It's like they've never even heard the opposition, which is absolutely insane to me, that you can call yourself an expert in an industry where you have a worldview. And I don't know if it's you're not familiar with these talking points, so you don't know how to either potentially agree with them, but most likely disarm them and say why they're stupid, they're silly, they're actually wrong, they're contradictory, etc., etc. It's like they've never even considered that. And that gets into the bigger issue, is these people will have, it was an hour and 40 minutes, and I say probably 95% of the time, both PBD and the socialists, I'm just going to call them socialists, they would talk and it wasn't a conversation, it wasn't a discussion, it wasn't even a debate. Because in a debate, both sides, although they might be doing it in bad faith, they might be doing one-liners and gotchas and stuff like that, rhetorical tricks, both sides generally have to respond. None of that happened in this video. There were no responses. There was wasn't even a small consideration that their position that's currently held could be wrong. It never crossed their mind. Not to say that you have to be open to having your opinion changed in one day. Most people, if they have a strongly held position, especially on religion or on something as big as economics, not to say that somebody's going to give you a few talking points and talk with you and you're going to get a completely 180 on your beliefs. But I don't think it's unreasonable to consider someone else's worldview, and especially in good faith, and be like, you know what, I believe these 10 things about capitalism, but actually that 9th one that I said, you made a pretty compelling and convincing point, and I think you actually are right. No, none of that happened. Not even a sliver, not even 5, 10, 15% of my ideology could be even considered. Not changed, even considered. No considerations, nobody left with any new knowledge, just more animosity towards each group. And look, even if you hypothetically think that capitalists are the stupidest people in the world or vice versa, it's not productive, because ideally in every worldview, whatever you believe, if you want people to join you, you have to allow them to join you. You can't force anyone. When you try to force people to your beliefs, especially in a very aggressive manner, they're just going to hold animosity towards you and stick their feet in the ground. You have to give them an opportunity to believe what you believe. You have to, even if it's not, you talk with one person and it's unlikely they're going to completely change their mind. But maybe you give them, you know what? You actually believe what I believe. And you kind of give them fair and honest points. And maybe they do, after consideration, after some time, they're like, you know what? I actually do think, based on my previous beliefs, that this person is right. But you can't force anyone. You can't just slam it down their throat. You're going to believe me. You're going to believe me. You're going to agree with me. It doesn't happen. So I think on both the gaining knowledge aspect of these videos, as well as even just convincing, because at the end of the day, even if you don't want to give the audience any new information and educate them, you still want people to believe what you believe. And I don't think anybody did that.